pause. Actually, Duda's computer, just the power. He hadn't, or the organizer hadn't put in the power cord. And Duda came back he was actually losing that game, but he came back very strong.
Yeah, he's very good at kind of freestyling Duda and just being in the moment, thinking on the fly. If you give him a random position, just jump in fresh, he'll be able to navigate the complications well. And it's the same in chess. It's like if you just get thrown in, 5 minutes on the clock, no time to prepare. I think that favours Duda. Mamedyarov, again, just he needs to be inspired. He needs everything to be perfect, to be fully focused, and not ideal.
No.
Far from ideal. And, OK, 3 minutes have been lost on his clock. He will get that time back, I'm pretty sure. And we will sort out these issues. It looks like Duda as well, a moment ago, was maybe talking to an arbiter or just waiting to get an update. Yeah, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth the wait.
Looks like he's typing, so it's probably not fixed yet. We haven't seen a lot of technical issues this season on the tour.
No, we didn't have the drama that we had, apart from this game between Duda and Niemann.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember on season 1, we had this huge drama with Levon Aronian. Like, the power had gone out in Yerevan.
That's true.
And he was just banking on the power on his laptop surviving. And it was a big race against time. Would he finish the game?
That's true. Oh, that was dramatic.
The stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a power cut as well in Miami, if I remember correctly. It wasn't just not just the wire. Another day there was a power cut which affected all the players. I mean, it was unavoidable. It affected the whole region, but. Yeah, the players, they're used to this. I remember in Gibraltar one year there was a power cut and players were playing by candlelight in the basement where it was like pitch black.
Yeah.
There's some great pictures. Literally just candles, but you can barely see the board, but they kept going.
Yeah, that happened to me. It happened twice, actually, in 2 different years. It happened to me there. I was down there playing, it was pitch dark, and we had these like candles, these lights happening. I mean, it was very creative by the organisers and the arbiters to think of this solution.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
Sounded kind of cozy. And there is a message now from the head arbiter that Mamedyarov has had an issue, but he will start, and he has started, and he has received all his time back. So here we go. This is the must-win game for him. Any other result means Duda wins Aimchess Rapid.
Yeah, and these two, they've both been so good the entire tournament. It's coming down all on this game now. And it's the English opening. So it started as a Reti, White's Knight coming out, but we call it the English opening because those 2 c-pawns, White c-pawn, Black c-pawn, they're out and it's symmetrical. And, OK, both sides fianchettoing their bishops on their long diagonals. Duda's going for a slower approach. But this one does mean that there'll be maximum tension. Very rarely do pieces get traded off here because there's no confrontation in the centre. Both sides flexible, the variety of plans at their disposal. But what do you think of this opening choice, Ivanka, from White's point of view?
Yeah, it's very cagey, isn't it? Like you say, it kind of keeps all the pieces on the board. It's going to be a very slow game. I think it's OK to begin with. I mean, he must have gone into this game with a certain strategy in mind. And you have to remember that, of course, Mamedyarov is in a must-win situation, and he's not really going to appreciate those situations where it's all very tense. Remember, his style is to go forth and conquer. And he puts his knight to the edge of the board. That wasn't the most popular move according to my database, but it has been played several times.
Yep, still a well-known plan in general for Black. That Black Knight on the edge of the board doesn't look great, but it will re-centralise itself soon. Mamedyarov first castling, Duda copying. And, yeah, the reason I'm slightly surprised is this one is maximum tension. It's all about nerves. Yes, Mamedyarov likes to be a bit more direct, but Duda with White, normally top players nowadays, the strategy is to be direct and just hoover up all the pieces and go for that draw that's required. OK, Duda pushing a pawn. This might preface a further pawn advance on this left side for White. Mamedyarov copies.
Yeah, but
copycat chess.
This is the whole point. The rook will swing over, and now White is gearing up to expand on the left side of the board. Obviously, you can't do that just... Well, you can do it. Actually, what am I talking about? There is a knight sitting there at the edge of the board. Come on. Come on, Duda. Push forward with a b-pawn. 2 squares forward.
Yeah, so the idea is if Black's bishop in front of his king ever moves, then White's dark square bishop will go and capture that Black knight on the edge of the board. So Black's knight, he does play your move, Ivanka, So this is a trade, essentially, an offer of an exchange. Black's dark square bishop can go and capture white's knight over there on c3, but then white's bishop will go and capture black's knight on the edge of the board. So a bit of a weird, unusual way of trading pieces. Normally, the pieces kind of trade off for each other, but not in this scenario. Instead, Mamedyarov, I think this is a wise choice, just centralizes his piece, and Duda protects the knight that was attacked. And yeah, we will see almost symmetry, complete symmetry, actually, in the position if Duda trades off a set of pawns now, which it would be very logical. But symmetry doesn't, in this case, mean a draw because there's still all the pieces on the board. And only 2 sets of pawns have been exchanged. And OK, Mamedyarov pushing in the center. He loves pushing, gaining space in the middle of the board, because once you push in the middle, it's easier to dart off and attack on either side later.
I really like what Mamedyarov is doing. You know, he's threatening to push that d pawn 1 square forward and just try to disrupt white's pawn structure. So this is going to be unpleasant for Duda to handle.
Yeah, would you block things up in the middle now, Duda? You can kind of push white's pawn to block this black pawn that's just moved.
No.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't do that, because swings and roundabouts, yes, you prevent black's plan, but at the same time, you concede a very important c4 square. So I would say, no, don't do that. You've got to fight this fire with some water and just maybe move the knight out of the way.
Yeah, makes sense. And compared to the last game, at least, clock times, it's a complete reversal. Now Duda is down to 3 minutes. Mamedyarov's up at nearly 4.5. In the last game that Mamedyarov lost, it was him burning time early that cost him. And now the shoe's on the other foot. White's queen, meanwhile, moving. Also quite sensible. Just connecting the white rooks. Now the white rooks can bring themselves to better squares. And yeah, I mean, clock time, often I found this as well in my own Blitz practice. With white, there's this psychological burden that you have to prove an advantage or you have to create something, and that costs time on the clock. So even though Duda only wants a draw or only needs a draw, somehow that's maybe in his head, and he's overthinking. He's not been quick up to this point.
No, and Shak is playing very solidly. He's not making any committal moves whatsoever. I fully expected him to be maximalist and take as much space with the pawns, but he's like, no, let's first develop the pieces. He's learnt the lessons from the last game, and instead put the queen out, connect the rooks, and then fight for the battle, fight in the battle of open lines.
Yeah. Maximum tension right now. Duda, again, 1.5 minutes down on the clock. That's a huge disparity on time, and I'm getting worried. This is not a Duda type of position either, necessarily, or he's a universal player, but his instincts aren't in these blocked positions where it's hard to come across a plan. His instinct is, again, to play on the front foot, go forward. He steps his rook forward. Mysterious move. That rook is on a loose square, and Mamedyarov, he doesn't actually worry about necessarily playing the most accurate move. He's just playing quickly. He's putting pressure on the clock, and that's a valid strategy. Duda shaking his head already. Is he back in that tilt? And white's knight stepping back. That knight was in the way of white's rooks. Makes some sense, but not a good square. That white knight still needs 2 or 3 moves to get to a better circuit. Shak chases it back.
And this has been Duda's sneaky plan all along. It was to maneuver the knight to b3 to work from where it can jump to c5. And you can see Duda is satisfied with this plan. And I like the calmness of Shak. He's like, no, OK, fine. I'm just going to retreat my bishop.
So white has a weakness. Black also has a weakness. The 2 b pawns, one white, one black, they're both isolated. Now white's queen was eyeing up a pawn. OK, a couple of quick moves there. But look at this. Black is the first into the white half. This is the first time a black piece has jumped into the white's half of the board, and that's a phenomenal outpost.
Yeah.
Look at that black knight on the c4 square. Anchored by 2 pawns, protected, can never be removed.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel that Duda is the one struggling big time here, because Shak has control of the A line, he has the better bishops, and of course the better knight. And Duda now in defensive mode. Maybe the strain and the stress of having to just draw this game is starting to take its toll.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there is a plan, at least for white. What black has done with his knight in the white half, white wants to do to black in his half. So he wants to copy, and white's knight is going in between the 2 black knights next move. Yeah, it's going to be really hard to evaluate whose knights are better. It's just so blocked in the middle of the board. And the one thing Shak can't allow is a whole bunch of exchanges. So tension between the rooks, the longer it goes on, it's going to be unclear who that favours. OK, he just moves his queen, getting ready for the other black rook to go to the A file to join that tension over there. And yeah, Duda, it still feels like he's fine, but the clock time worries me.
Nice jumping in.
There it is.
Will he get rid of it? Yes, absolutely.
Wow, OK, this comes with pros and cons. White's best piece is removed, but black is giving up control over all the dark squares. Very risky strategy. I'm expecting white to take this bishop back. Normally we say towards the centre, so white's B pawn should capture, but this is a stronger way because white's dark square bishop, look at it, on the bottom of the board, behind the white queen, has a nice diagonal now. If it gets to C3, it's going to cut across and look at the black king side. Oh, this one, I mean, it's so tense. It's not clear who has the advantage on the board, on the clock. Still Mamedyarov.
Yeah.
Can he keep up the pace?
Duda, he is in the lead in the Blitz tiebreaks. It is Friday night. It's been looking like he's snacking on some chocolate, enjoying himself today, Jan Christoph Duda. But in this game, is he enjoying this? The bar is now going over to his side.
Yeah, again, we talked about the bishop pair a few times this tournament, and I do think white's bishops have potential, despite the fact it's blocked and closed right now. I'm looking at that white dark squared bishop, and I'm thinking that's the potential winner. That's the MVP, as they say. Most valuable piece. And black's queen just defending some pawns right now.
And Duda, well, what a turnaround. You know, he's really manoeuvred his pieces beautifully.
And how calm is Duda? He's got 1 minute on his clock. Crucial match, tournament decider, and he's just sipping his drink a moment ago. Retreats the white queen.
I love that retreat. I mean, it's just so sophisticated. Gets ready just to perhaps look at the left side of the board. And at the same time, this queen is perfectly placed in case he wants to get aggressive and start pushing some pawns in the middle. And wow, Shakhriyar, he's lost patience. He has now struck. He's ruined his perfect pawn structure. And this is it. I mean, but this is very, very weakening.
Yeah, it's very weakening. Black's pawns in the middle of the board look nice, but they are targets, especially for white's light squared bishop. Clear targets there. I guess he just had to fight on dark squares. This is his idea as well. He's going active. He's starting to set threats. The white's rook is attacked by black's bishop. And yeah, black had to put one pawn on a dark square because potentially he was weak on that colour complex. The rook moves, and the bishop offers an exchange. This is clever. If you remove white's light squared bishop, which has happened... Oh, there's a blunder.
Oh,
okay.
no.
I was going to say strategically black was doing well, but this knight drops off. Black's pawn is overworked. If black captures this rook, the white queen goes and captures the black rook. White has won a piece.
Oh, no, and he resigns. It's over. Jan Christoph Duda wins Aimchess Rapid after a massive tournament. He won the preliminaries. He knocked out